I mean, like, the field center, as soon as you say that, everybody's like, hold up, man, that's just so far away. So, like, if the field center were, like, where Campus Club is, like, it would be, I feel like it would be, like, just so much more effective, just as, like, you know, a kind of cultural hub in a sense, you know. But the distance is kind of, like, I don't know, kind of impedes the positive effects it should have as, like, you know, a center where blacks can commune and be with each other.
In general, my experience is great. I met a lot of cool people, joined a lot of groups, and probably too many groups, and just like I try to take advantage of everything there is to offer here.
In the same way that like the experience of a black male in America is different than a white female in America. Like, there's just going to be like natural differences that happen.
Overall, it's been a pretty decent experience. I've definitely experienced some of the hardship of being an African-American student on campus, I would say.
I mean, we're only 8% of the population here, and there's a different kind of wisdom that you need to have being a black person on campus, you know.
Sometimes I joke with my friends, like, let's count how many of us we see, just to be funny.
There's like this phenomenon that happens on campus where, as a black male, or like probably just a black person in general, you kind of like, you know every other black person on campus. If you don't know them by name, you at least know them by face and stuff. So it's really weird, like, even if you've never spoke to someone.
There is kind of an expectation that if you're black, you kind of will know everybody, and that you'll get to know them, you'll want to get to know them, and all that.
I guess for the male population, like, there's like a so-and-so percentage of blacks that they talk about in the admission department. But then when you get here, the male population is it does seem pretty small.
Because, you know, there aren't many black men in these top tier universities. So they feel like it was easier for me to get in. And in a way that kind of, they're belittling my intelligence.
When I was like a freshman, maybe sophomore, I remember I did have like some issues with the fact that like some of my friend groups were so segregated that I felt like I couldn't kind of bring the two together.
Yeah.
You know, I would keep them almost purposely separate. You know, it would be like if I had my black friends and I didn't want to like introduce them to everybody else, or didn't want to kind of like have them both in the same like setting. Black people often hang out together just because like they have a lot in common, and sometimes that's not something that they have in common with other groups. So it's kind of natural, I guess.
Because being black, you'll understand where another black person is coming from more readily than somebody who's looking outside of that community.
I mean, it's a shared culture, you know. I can talk to them about things that I can't talk to other people about. You know, we've had similar experiences, similar backgrounds, similar tastes in things like maybe music or culture or whatever. It's a different level of comfort that you get with your black friends that you just will not get anywhere else.
That I basically have two separate friend groups. One that is pretty much all African American, and then another friend group that's like not African.
For the most part, like when I'm hanging out with like black friends, it's pretty different than like my group at Forbes.
Some people feel a little bit alienated. Sometimes people feel a little bit limited by their community, their black community.
Oh, limited by their
community. You know, sometimes they feel that they can't branch out, but I wouldn't say that represents everybody.
Yeah.
Because if you look at like the typical, say, black student, it's kind of like me. You know, they have different types of groups. You know, just how it is.
But I think their thoughts about affirmative action and little hidden tidbits about that kind of cause friction.
I've had a couple experiences where I just kind of realized not everyone is exposed to different races as much as I would have expected. I remember we went to the movies, and there were a group of black people like standing by the water fountain, and there was this group of students in front of me from Princeton, and I kept hearing them say like, "Oh my God, it's the new boys! Go get a picture! Go get a picture!" But like they were just other black people,
But once it was like one of those experiences where it could have been racial profiling, where I was just walking with friends and stuff, like coming back from the street, and a public safety or a borough police guy was like on the corner in his car or whatever. We all walked past the car, and I'm like near the end of the line, and then when I walk by, he's like, "Hey son, come here," and like, "What are you doing? You go here," blah blah blah, and stuff like that.
My brother was visiting me this year, like a month or so ago. He's a year older than me.
Okay.
And we were walking around at night, and somebody called public safety on us as suspicious people. So they like stopped us and were asking us like a bunch of questions and stuff.
I'm part of the running club, and I was on, it's happened quite a few times actually, but one time in particular, I was running with a friend of mine who happened to be Asian. It was dark, and we were running near Prospect Street, the very end, so not the part where the clubs are, but the other end. And a car drove past, and they called me the N-word. That's happened a couple of times.
Like deep down, everyone's like subconsciously, everyone's gonna think the way they want to think. So they can pretend, they can put on this like fake appearance, but like when it comes down to it, they're not gonna walk down the same hallway as another black person. You know what I mean? They'll look down when they cross a black person, stuff like that. But then, it's just stuff like that where you can't really quantify it, but it's just things people do that they don't even realize they're doing. So there's always going to be that stigma. Oh, let me clutch my purse when I pass this black person because he's going to steal it. Stuff like that.
Some classes, mostly the science classes, because there aren't many black male pre-meds, and I happen to be one.
Oh, okay.
So I'm usually that guy in those classes, but a lot of the other classes, I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
I do feel like in some of my classes, it's like an unspoken kind of thing where of course I would try to strive to do my best, but I kind of feel like I have to do even better. Because I can be scapegoated as, oh, he only did bad because, he's a black guy. That's what they do. Because I think I'm an average person. I shouldn't be like stigmatized because I'm black.
I feel less comfortable in some settings. Like there aren't many black students in eating clubs, for example. But I feel like everybody kind of has to go and explore his or her own territory and see what fits for them.
I don't know, there are some things that could happen differently, like if we had like more of a presence on campus, maybe like with black fraternities or something.
It's unfortunate that there aren't more just social events for black students. I mean, there's the Men's Appreciation Dinner and the Women's Appreciation Dinner every year, and Love Jones and Open Mic Night for Valentine's Day, but those are the main social events.
It's kind of like we're like trapped, and we don't have a community field, but we don't want to put in the work to make one either. And it's gonna take more work because we're like limited and spread out.
So I don't think a lot of black students are exposed to these types of colleges. Like there were some very capable students who I think easily could have succeeded here, but it never crossed their mind to apply to Princeton. And so I think it's a little bit of a cultural thing, maybe a parenting thing, I'm not sure.
Why not bring in local, black boys and tell them about, oh, we're at Princeton. You can do it too. What about promoting awareness? I'm not really into any of that.
I know, one thing I commend the black groups for trying to do is like when high school students and middle school students, they hit up some of the black leaders to say, we're coming on campus, can we have some black people give us tours, There's actually one happening like right now, like for some high school students, I believe. So like that kind of initiative just to like show, the black kids growing up, like, hey, there are black students here, we are doing well here, and you should really consider if you could see yourself, being here too. Like that kind of reaching out on that kind of personal, more intimate level, like could definitely help bridge that kind of, discrepancy.
If we are serious about our groups, about BMAG and BSU and all that, then we'll be able to come together more easily, and that in itself will draw more blacks to the campus once they see that there is a community feel.
I definitely want to, put on more events for like African American students as a whole. and especially at the beginning of the year, because I think if you can reach out to like new freshmen and kind of get them that network, that will continue throughout their 4 years here.